All right, welcome back. We continue live right here at Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani, Chris Mueller. And Chris, I want to ask you about the Notre Dame-Clemson game. Fantastic game. And quite frankly, I didn't think Ian Book was capable of out-dueling no matter who was a quarterback, but even with TJ, you say his name, Alalele. I forget the beginning of it.
I believe it's I think I got it here. DJ Uigalele. Because the I at the end is the lay part. Yeah, Uigalele.
Well, whatever the case, he's an outstanding young freshman, and he played well in that game. There's no question about it. But Notre Dame came away with a win. Two-part question here. Number one, what happened afterwards with the fans spilling onto the field? Number one, Notre Dame's number 4. I know they haven't beaten a number 1 at home since like 1993, but still, they're number 1 taking on number 4. It's not like it's a total surprise. They reacted as if it did. And especially given this time, I was surprised they were all packed together in the student section like that.
All right, I'll address a couple things. First off, if these two teams meet again with Trevor Lawrence, I think Clemson's going to take them to the woodshed, which will, please me greatly because I can't stand Notre Dame. So full disclosure out there, I'm biased here. Secondly, I don't. If you're Notre Dame, I'm not the guy who likes to try to police whether you should or shouldn't storm. Do you ever remember Duke at Cameron Indoor storming the court for anything? I mean, I don't. Notre Dame likes to put out there like they're a top program in the country, even though anytime they go up against top programs, they usually get beat really bad. To me, that was a tacit admission from the people in attendance that they know that they aren't really on the level of the Clemsons and the Alabamas, and when they score a win like this, it's time to get extremely excited. So I thought it was kind of a tacit bad look for them. As far as this last part, though, being packed together like that, I'm trying to put myself, and I thought this was a helpful exercise because I've been pretty serious about the social distancing and wearing masks. 20-year-old me is in the crowd for that game, though I'm a Notre Dame fan and I just watched them win. I'm running onto the field like a complete moron. I know I am because I was allowed into the stadium by the adults at the university who wanted to make some money off of those tickets. So I'm not going to blame the kids for the excitement and for actually being down there crowded like that when it was the people who run the school who let them in there and wanted to make some coin off of it.
And now they're being critical of those same kids who they let in there and let them get on the field. So there's where we are right now. Let's go to the lines. We have Fred, who's first up tonight in North Huntington. What's up, Fred? How you doing?
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, Bob, I wanted to ask you, what was the attendance for the Dallas-Pittsburgh game down there in Texas, if you knew? And then I was also wondering if is there any increase in the attendance coming up for the Heinz Field games? I'm getting worried about that, and I'm wondering if, with this COVID situation, I can't see the NFL not having any fans for postseason, but I don't see them having a full stadium either. I just wonder what you guys thought about that. I'll hang up and listen.
All right, Fred. I think it was 25,000 yesterday down there in Texas, and I think from what I understand, there's no change in the number. 5,500. Chris, have you heard differently about Heinz Field?
I have not heard anything differently, and frankly, whether it's like 5,500 or if it's 25,000, unless you get to 40, 50,000, and then they'd have to be packed together, I think, which would help. You're not going to get the kind of noise in these stadiums that's actually going to make a difference. So I think when people ask about this in the context of the playoffs, I know they talked about it a little bit, I think during the Steelers game. We talked about it briefly on the show today. I don't think you're going to get any semblance of home field advantage from anything less than a full stadium. And I think the idea that these stadiums are going to be full come January for playoff games is a complete pipe dream. So if you're thinking about that, maybe the Heinz Field crowd, if the Steelers get the top seed, is going to help them, no. I just don't think that's even close to reality right now.
Jim in Newcastle, you're on the sports call. Go ahead, Jim.
How you doing?
What's up?
Hey, Bob, I got two questions, one for you and one for Chris. Number one is, I thought the Steelers should have kicked that field goal yesterday. I don't know if they were afraid it'd be blocked or what. And Chris, question for you, number two is, take Cincinnati plus the 9.5. It's a lock.
I think it's gone down, actually. But thank you, Jim, for the call. First part of that, I would have kicked the points, take the 3. I know he had his reservations about what was happening up front with the combination of Canada and also J.C. Hassenauer and Dotson. Obviously, they still kicked a 59-yard field goal during this time, so they had some success. I would have taken and just made it hard on Dallas. Chris, what would you have done there before you get to your question?
The question he had for me wasn't even a question, was it? He just told me to take Cincinnati plus the 9.5. That was like a declarative statement. As far as a more pertinent and pressing issue, I'm going to put on the old, I was terrible at math. My mom and dad are probably watching this right now nodding as I say that I was horrible at math after like 6th grade. But I went and looked up the win expectancy here, like win probability and how that play affected it. They made technically, and it's almost a wash. Usually these decisions, are more cut and dried. They made the ever so slight better play there, believe it or not, to go for it in terms of their win probability. You know what I had a problem with? I didn't think Tomlin's explanation was faulty at all. I mean, you could say, oh, they had a 59-yard field goal. That's great. He is a coach, and he is going to be thinking about the plays that went wrong and all the things that could go wrong. And if you want to call that living in your fears, fine. I call it living in reality. They were getting worked over on those field goals yesterday because of whatever was happening between Canada and Dotson. But I think the big problem I had with this, though, if you're going to go for it on 4th and 1, and you haven't run the ball successfully at all, why would you not put the ball in the hands of your best player, your quarterback, and let him make a 3 or 4 yard throw, the kind he's been attempting and completing all year long? That just seems like a no-brainer there. Give Roethlisberger the keys and say, please hit somebody on a 4-yard pass and win the game for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I would have done that too. I said that today on the radio show with Cook and Joe, but I also think if you're worried about the kicking game and having problems with it, how could you not be worried about your short down yardage? Because all throughout that game, they failed. They were 2 of 6, I think, on 3rd or 4th and 1. They just didn't get the job done, and their offensive line was being beaten on that. But that's, they're going to make 1,000 decisions a day in these games, and that's one of them.
To me, Bob, that was the story of the game yesterday. Like, if you were going to be a Debbie Downer about it or point out something negative, Dallas came in with the worst rush defense in the NFL in yards, 3rd worst in yards per carry. And really, there should have been no reason that they could move the ball on the ground because you should have been selling out to stop the run, right? Like, those two things are true. They got pushed around when they tried to run the ball on Dallas. Gallimore was all over them in the backfield every play, it seemed like. And Dallas ran the ball at will. I mean, that was 2 alarming facets of that game, even though they got the win.
I agree with that. Let's go out to Mary in Munhall. What's up, Mary? How are you?
Hey, good, guys. How are you?
All right. What's up?
Was it just me, or during the first half, were there a ton of penalties against the Steelers that weren't called?
That weren't called?
That were not called, especially pass interference.
Well, I thought there was a Claypool play right in the beginning of the game that he got interfered with. They didn't call it. I think largely, Mary, thank you for the call, that this game went a wash. I think if you want to make – I didn't come away thinking the referees made it easier on Pittsburgh, nor did I think it was easier on Dallas. They made penalty calls. They didn't call holding at all, and there was a lot of that still going on, Chris. I don't know what's happened to that call, but there was some pass interference that they did not call, so I think it evened out.
Well, I thought the one play from Claypool that Mary might be referencing early in that game, even though he got held up a little bit and you could have seen something called, he also still should have caught the ball, right?
Yes,
it looked like it went right through his hands on that deep shot. That's a rare miss by him. But I would agree with you. I thought this was a wash, actually leaning Dallas, because the really consequential penalties happened late, and they tended to all help the Steelers.
All right, we have more calls on the way, but before we do that, it's time for our Tri-State Office Furniture Tweet of the Day. And this comes to us from Missy Matthews at Steelers.com. She said the Steelers are 27th team to start the season 8-0 since the 1970 merger. The previous 26 all reached the playoffs. 8 eventually won the Super Bowl, most recently the 2009 New Orleans Saints. We have more to discuss. We'll do it when we come back right here live. CW Studios in downtown Pittsburgh. We're back after this.